This is probably going to be a hot take, but I genuinely believe that it is so much harder to become a wife, to build a family, to serve, love, and nurture a husband than it is to be a businesswoman or a woman with a really successful career.
Would you say that it is way more harder to be a successful wife, a humble wife, a loyal wife, a submissive wife? It's way much harder to be a submissive wife or a wife in general than to be a successful career woman. Which is harder, to be a wife or to be a career woman? So a woman is saying that she feels like it's way more harder to be a wife than to be a successful woman. Let me show you the clip, then we'll come back and talk about it.
This is probably going to be a hot take, but I genuinely believe that it is so much harder to become a wife, to build a family, to serve, love, and nurture a husband than it is to be a businesswoman or a woman with a really successful career. Like, as somebody that had two businesses, almost three, one of them was my full-time career for a pretty long time, and it was my full-time career for the first portion of my marriage. Becoming a wife and stepping into the mindset and becoming the woman that I needed to be for my husband was 10 times harder than any business that I ever started, than jumping from being employed to being a full-time business owner. Becoming a wife was so much harder than any of that. I had a lot of inner work to do. I also feel like the world and society fills women with so much fear about stepping into that chapter of their lives. I think it's so crazy when I get comments calling me lazy for being a stay-at-home wife, when those people that comment that know that they are nowhere near ready to become a woman that serves and loves and nurtures her husband, or a woman who can take care of a home, or a woman who can build a nuclear family. They know that they're not capable of that. Also, I had the businesses, I had the career, I know how to work. But my number one priority in this life is creating a family unit, is creating a happy and healthy, strong family, because that is the only thing that is actually going to heal society. Working really hard and starting businesses and staying up till midnight on my laptop, this is all stuff that I did in the beginning of my marriage. That was all an escape for me. That was all a coping mechanism. Like, from the beginning of time that Noah has known me, he can attest to this, I worked non-stop, but it was all an escape from reality, an escape from who I actually was. So before you call a stay-at-home wife lazy, or a stay-at-home mom, or whoever it may be, you have to actually be in their shoes in order to say that. But I have lived both lives, and I can tell you right now, being a wife has been so much harder than it was when I was a businesswoman. And people who have known me for a very long time can attest to both of those lives.
This is when we tell you marriage is hard, and marriage is hard for women. And so I get where she's coming from. That if you want to be successful in that marriage, it is way more harder than for you to just be single and focus on your career, and you even put in more effort if you're alone. That is what I feel like she's trying to say. But the thing is, some people are saying that being a wife is still, it's very easy for you to be a wife because you can just walk into a store and say yes to all those men taking saying they want to marry you, and yes, you're already somebody's wife, or all you need to do is just say yes to all those guys that are talking to you, then you're already somebody's wife. So it's easier to be a wife than for you to be a successful career woman. Which is which for you? Let me show you all this two stage video, then we'll come back and discuss.
I genuinely believe that it is so much harder to become a wife, to build a family, to serve, love, and nurture a husband than it is to be a businesswoman or a woman with a really successful career.
She really said that becoming a wife is genuinely so much harder than having a successful career, as if men aren't the most easily satisfied creatures on earth. I could walk into 29 Palms right now, make eye contact with any man, and be married by sundown, and that's just reality. Yet we see broke couples in unstable situations get married all the time. Love, marriage, and building a family isn't some impossible task. It's often what people default to when they can't or don't want to pursue anything more ambitious. Being a wife isn't inherently harder, but you know what is hard? Navigating corporate America as a woman. We get paid less for the same job, emotional when we set boundaries, aggressive when we lead, and passed over for promotions because someone assumes that we might want kids one day. You can choose to be a wife, and that's fine, but let's not pretend that the harder path is being adored by a man who thinks a warm plate and a smile is peak womanhood. Some of us are out here succeeding in spaces that weren't built for us and doing it well.
This is probably going to be a hot take, but I genuinely believe that it is so much harder to
I
become.
don't really see this as a hot take. I more so see it as a video that was, I think, meant to be relatable, but it's not. Now, I can agree that as a wife, it is really hard to be that person that you need to be for your spouse. Based upon my own experience and having a relationship with Jesus and knowing his views about marriage, it can be really hard to have that sacrificial love and represent Christ to your partner. Because it would be intellectually dishonest for me to say that I, as a wife, work harder than a businesswoman, because not all businesswomen are called to be wives. The Bible is very clear about this, that not everyone is called to marriage, and that a lot of people are actually called to celibacy. Because in the same way that God can work through a wife, a mother, to teach sacrificial love and how to build a family, God can do that for an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a hardworking woman, maybe not in the sense of family, but God can still use aspects of that woman's life to teach her family values, sacrificial love, or to endure by faith. As in Proverbs 31, God highlights both the entrepreneurial woman, but also the woman that goes out to provide for her home. And there's no need for this, because I feel like it causes more division to compare one another on whose heart is harder. Because as a woman of God, what doesn't unite me to another sister is telling them how much harder my life is than theirs. It's telling them that in the same way they've experienced things, maybe in different ways, I can relate to them and I can empathize with them.
A wife, a good wife, you need to have so many qualities. And number one, for them to say, oh, she's a good wife, she's a good wife, you have to be very submissive. You have to be very submissive. Even you have to forgive. We've seen a lot of wives come online to tell us that they forgive their husband, they have to tolerate this, tolerate that, compromise, you know, leave their work for children. As a wife, you have to even move from wife to mother. Okay. You have to be a wife, be a mother, be a chef, be a nurse, be a cook, be everything, be a cleaner. You're not just doing one career as a wife. As a wife, you're going to do so many things that you don't even expect you're going to do. So I personally agree with that when she says being a wife is way more hard. It's a tedious job than you just being a successful career woman. And because you're somebody's wife, you have to even compromise, do so many things that just because you are the wife. You are one thing that makes marriage hard for women is the workload, the mental load, the stress, the everything that comes with it for women. Because women are to carry almost everything on their head. In fact, some women are even providing for the household while they are doing other many things. And most of the time, wives are not even well appreciated enough. It is not also easy to be a successful career woman. You have to put in a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of discipline, and consistency as well. But I feel like doing life alone by yourself sometimes might be what you need. And if you feel like you want to be a successful career woman and also be a wife, the kind of work is sometimes impossible. That is why when I see a woman that is a wife, a mom, and also successful in their career, I always respect them, because it's a lot of work to be a wife on its own, to be that wife that they want you to be, that society wants you to be. There's a kind of wife that society wants you to be. Yes, that type of wife is a lot of work to get to that place, to be that submissive wife thing that society wants you to be. Then after doing that successfully, you still focus on your career, focus on yourself, and still be successful in your career. Most women, when they get married, they forget their career, they forget whatever they want to achieve. In fact, they focus on only on their own. That's why you see women say, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, I want to be a child wife, I cannot go, I have to, leave my job because I cannot work and take care of children. I cannot work and be a wife as well. Anyways, you guys, I just finished my workout this evening and I decided to make this video. So I'd like to know your thoughts about this short clip down in the comment section. Respectfully, I am saying that being a wife is harder because marriage is hard generally, especially for women. So that's why I am going to be on that side of, yes, being a wife is harder than being a successful man. And I'm not saying being a successful man is not hard to be successful in your career. Yes, you have to put in a lot of work, A lot of, if you're not putting a lot of work, you're not going to be successful. Just be there. You have to put in a lot of work. And I feel like if you're doing that while you're single without a man, is better for you, if that makes sense. What is your take on this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section respectfully. As always, it's your girl Maria Davids, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.